Hey folks, this is your instructor Dan, and I am going to be going through and doing a little bit of a demo here for you to give you an example of how we use the queries in ArcGIS. And you will have read through the lecture and found out that, learned a little bit about the idea of set theory, the idea of using Venn diagrams to understand relationships like logical and logical or conditions. But in this case, I'm going to be doing some example queries that are similar to the ones that you are doing for the lab that we didn't meet for on Tuesday, but that is still assigned to you guys. So they're basically a series of problems that you have to solve. You can download the data, but I will be in the lab on Friday from 11 to 1. Again in the afternoon after 11 o'clock on Monday, and also Tuesday from 11 to 1 as well. So you'll have a chance to try to work your way through some of these. And it takes a little while to get a feel for how these work. But keep in mind that in the example that I have here, world administrative boundaries, and there are 2,007 of these in the world, and so we could come through with our select features and just interactively, I'm using the shift key, I can just interactively select. I could also, they have a couple different tools they added a few years ago where you can go and draw a polygon to determine the features that you want to select. And basically what you want to keep in mind when you're thinking about these selected features is that the features that are selected will be the basis of the next operation that you choose. And so I can look at the selected records down here, and I can see I only have 2 selected records right now. I could elect to export these to a new shapefile or a new feature class. I could use this selected feature in a subsequent operation. Okay, so we'll see an example of that here shortly. So that's just kind of the interactive select tool, but the real power comes from the logical selection using structured query language. This is what we call the query builder, where we build these different queries. And we also have select by location. So I'm going to give you examples of each of those. But before I do, I wanted to just show you, remind you how the definition query works. This is unique in that it's not, the other queries have hundreds of different applications and ways that you would use them. This is really pretty much limited to limiting or reducing what is visible on the screen, what's actually appearing on the map. And so in this example, I have capital cities, in this last category, the not capital, I don't want to appear. So I'm just going to set this logical query that says capital, that's the field name, the operator is not equal to, and not a capital in quotes is the condition. Okay, and so I will apply this, drag this over so you can see it, there we go, and I'll hit apply, and you saw how those not a capital disappeared. So that's a definition query. Okay, so I've set up a few other ones here. The next one we're going to do is administrative units in Mexico with more than 2 million people. Now you might say, well, maybe Mexico is a logical condition, but in this case, if we look at the administrative boundaries table, we will see that we have country name as a field. Okay, so that will work. And so we could simply come and do the first condition, which is country name, and we could say country name equals, and I could get unique values, and we could find Mexico in the list and apply it, and with a little luck we should be able to get what's going on here. Okay, so I can see I have selected from the current selection as the method, but there's nothing selected, so it can't select anything. I'm actually needing to create a new selection, which is the default, and there's the administrative boundaries for Mexico. Now, I want the ones with more than 2 million people, so I'm going to add a second condition, and I'll come back in here, and this is where I can come in and say, okay, from the current selection set, let's come in and say we only want to see the administrative population that is greater than 2 million. And we'll keep an eye on the screen over here, and we'll see that we lost a couple of these, looks like 3 or 4 of the states in Mexico. Oh, a few over here in the peninsula that have less than 2 million people. We're only selected those with 2 million. Again, this could be used for further analysis. For example, we might want to grab the capital cities that are contained within those. So we might say select by location. Okay, now we're grabbing capital cities, and we have now the capital cities. The target layer is the one that we want to select. Okay, so I'm going to select capital cities that are within the administrative boundaries, and in this case I'm going to choose the selected features. Okay, and in this case there's a lot of different choices, but more times than not you'll use the intersect. Okay, so I'm going to use the intersect. I'll say okay, now I have selected all of the capital cities that fall within those selected administrative boundaries. Okay, now I do want to show you that that query that we did, I did it in 2 stages, but you can create complex queries, and I'm just going to paste in the country name, which I saved a minute ago, and I'm going to add a conjoiner in this case, which is an and. And so sometimes if you read these out loud, country name equals Mexico and population admin greater than 2 million. Okay, watch what happens if I were to put an or in here. Or, country name equals Mexico, or population and admin equals 2 million. Okay, so I'll apply this, and what it does is it basically collects everything that is within Mexico. It actually collected everything that was within Mexico, and also collected everything that had a population administrative greater than 2 million, even if it was outside of Mexico, because you only had to meet one of the 2 conditions. That's not what I want. What I want is an and if I hit the and again, it should look pretty much like we had before, exactly like we had before. All right, let's go to our next example. How many major water bodies are within 5 kilometers of a state or national capital? Okay, so there's a couple conditions here. I have a distance condition, or within a distance of 5 kilometers of a state or national capital. Okay, so here's my capital cities, but if I open up the capital cities layer, or if I look at the classification, I'll see that not all capital cities are state or national. We have municipal as well. Okay, so we need to do a selection on these guys first. So I'm going to come in and notice the layer that I'm choosing. So in this case, capital cities. And capital cities, I need to go to my capital condition. And my preference is to say get unique values. Now, when you're building this, a mistake that students often make is they want to do something like this. Give me all of the national capitals and give me all the state capitals. Okay, and I could apply this and I would get an error. And the reason is because you have to repeat the field name, operator, value every time. So in this case, I have to repeat the national capital phrase for each time. Okay, so take a look at that, and if I apply it, and let's see, I'm creating a new selection. I'm saying is capital equal national, and oh, do you see the problem? Nothing could be selected. Why? it can't meet both of these conditions. It can only meet one of those conditions. So national capital equals national, or capital equals state. Let's try that again. There we go. So that looks great. And now we're interested in finding how many major water bodies are within 5 kilometers of those. Okay. So again, we're into a logical query. So, excuse me, a locational query. And so I'm selecting features. The target that I'm trying to capture is the major water bodies. I'm selecting from major water bodies. And the target in this case is going to be the capital cities. And I am going to use the selected features because those are the state and national capitals. And now I go down to the list, and this is one of the more common ones you'll use, within a distance of. And you can see there's a 3D, so it's a little bit interchangeable. We're not really going to use the 3D. Or within a distance, and there we go, 5 kilometers. That's my search distance. And I hit apply, and it would probably help if I turned on the water bodies so you could see them. And one of the things that's kind of nice to do here, let's go ahead and turn off the capital cities now. Did we select any major water bodies? Let's go back. I want to check this again. Select by location. So I'm selecting major water bodies that are within the source layer. Selected features. And let me go ahead and close this guy down. Let me open up, see what I got. Open attribute table. And I got 2 out of 86. And I'm wondering about this result. So I'm going to go ahead and zoom in on this guy a little bit. There we go, there we go. So this guy looks like, is that not within 5 kilometers? Ooh, 22 kilometers. I think I may have, let's loosen up our selection criteria a little bit. Okay. Oops, I selected, did you see how I just cleared? So I just created a little extra for myself. But I can just, you see how it saved my query, which is nice. So we'll go ahead and reset that. And now we'll select by location. In this case, I'm going to loosen this up a little bit. I'm going to say 25 kilometers. Again, it's good to go in and verify. Now you can see, for example, that I selected this water body that was within 20 kilometers, I think was what we saw. And I can open up the attribute table. It's good to double check yourself. Now I've selected 6 water bodies that are found within 25 kilometers of a major city. All right, I have just a couple minutes left here, so I'm going to clear the selected features. And the last one I have, locate all the railroads that cross into an urban area and how many of these are found in the state of Jalisco. So I'll turn on my railroads and I'll turn on my urban areas. There's urban areas. So we can see there's some railroads coming through there. So clearly a locational. And here we're just going to use our basic intersect. So we're selecting features from railroads that intersect the urban areas. And here we're not going to apply a distance. So no search distance. Hit apply. And here we can see the railroads that were selected. So I can go ahead and open up my railroads. I can see that within this table, 221 railroads out of 1320 were selected. And now I want to get the ones that are in the state of Jalisco. So I'm going to, there we go. So we could label our states if we wanted to. I've got state boundaries in here, so I could come in and it says they're already labeled. Oh, they're not turned on. Why are you not labeling? Let's check our label definition and state name. That all looks fine. Not sure why my labels aren't coming up, but they are going to be in the administrative boundaries. Okay, so we're going to come in then and say that we are going to get the state of Jalisco. So I can open up the attribute table, and there's the state of Jalisco right there. So you can point and click I could have done a logical query on that as well, but I could point and click. And so now I want to just grab those railroads that are within that, right? So I'm going to do select by location.